Hello folks and welcome, SparkyLinux 6.7. So today's video is going to be on the LXQt desktop. It's a lightweight desktop. I'm going to give you a tour and overview. I'll give you some tips along the way. And at the end, I will show you how to make one of these Shutdown Now buttons. And I'm going to be giving you some cautions when using something like that. But that Shutdown Now button powers down the system almost instantaneously. But anyways, filming in 1920 by 1080, my video will be more than 2 minutes. All my videos have timelines and chapters. So welcome folks. So my first tip of the day is Alt F4 to close any window. Let me first take you on a brief tour of their website. If you have not been to their website or know anything about Sparky, this is a lightweight distribution and they do offer several different desktops. So if you're looking for the stable part, you can see the LXQt, XFCE and KDE are just some examples in here. So you'll have the minimal GUI in here also. And anyways, there's also OpenBox in there for our, looks like ARM. But in either case, I'm using this one for today. So I have 2 places you can get the full ISO from. I will use Alt F4 to close this window and I'll start the tour. Again, this is a tour and overview. So starting on the panel bar, I have the show desktop. We have the time and if you click it, mini calendar, the volume thing, have the media and device manager, simple screen recorder icon, clipboard, the wireless connection in my case, and the Bluetooth manager, which I'm not currently using. So the simple screen recorder got installed through terminal. So there was 2 pieces of software that I installed. One was simple screen recorder to bring you this video, and the other one was I installed another file manager called Thunar. That is made for the XFCE distribution, but works well in this one also. So this is your upgrader or updater icon. It actually does run when you first open this. When you first install the system, you'll also get a welcome screen. The 1 and 2, it says desktop 1 and 2, they're just 2 workspaces. So I will click the menu at this point and walk through the menus just to let you see. Again, this is a tour and overview. Text editor, Featherpad, LXQt file archiver, PCMan, FM, which is the file manager. All right, and I will talk about this folder a little bit later. It's a self-created folder that I brought in some icons, and this is where I'm getting the icon from that. So I'm going to use Alt F4 on this one. Continuing on, as one would say, we have the clipper, clipboard tool, disk burning tool, XF burn, and the calculator. Nice looking calculator. I'll just throw in some digits in here. And anyways, Alt F4 on that one. Alt F4 closes just about any window in here. It's just a shortcut. Alright, under graphics we have the LX image viewer. We have the LibreOffice Draw, which is also found in the Office category. Screenshot tool, and I do suggest if you're going to alter things that you at least take a current window screenshot, but you have 2 other choices. If you're making alterations, it's always a good idea to make screenshots. Alright, Scanlight is an image scanning application, and moving along we have Firefox. You can of course install others. IRC client, Instant Manager, Download Manager, the RSS feed reader, the VPN, Thunderbird email client, and BitTorrent client. Under Office, I will open this. This is a full suite of LibreOffice. The version is 7.0.4.2. For you folks that have never used LibreOffice, if you're writing documents, for instance, this does come with a spell checker, a bunch of bells and whistles, and it also saves in multiple formats. The native is ODT, but you can certainly see the other file formats in here, including Microsoft formats. I'm going to use Alt F4 to close both windows. Alt F4, Alt F4. I could have used the X in the corners. The last thing on this particular submenu is the tabbed document viewer. And then a programming icon browser. Under sound and video, you have Clementine Music Player, Pulse Audio, the online streaming radio, online radio streaming player. I knew I could say that. Simple screen recorder I added through Terminal. I'm going to pause here for a second and just point out the fact that you can install software in 3 ways in this distribution. You can use Terminal, you can use Synaptic Package Manager, and they have a third way of doing things. And you can actually do it from the welcome screen. They have a point and click package manager. I'll show you that in a minute. VLC Media Player does come installed. Everything comes installed in this submenu except for Simple Screen Recorder. So I'm going to continue. So Webcamoid, XF Burn, and Voco. Screencast Creator. Under System Tools, there's the other software where you can add additional software from a point and click standpoint. APTus or APTus App Center. You can also find it in your welcome screen as a shortcut tab. About Sparky, when I open up the welcome screen, I'll also show some basic information. You can get system information from a lot of different areas in the system. Bulk Renamer, the Debian package installer helper is what I call that. The USB creator and one with persistence, in other words, storage. So Q terminal, let me open that up right now. So for you folks that have never done an install command from terminal, let me just pull up the history buffer and enlarge that for you. A typical install command is number 2, sudo superuserdo space apt space install. That's a typical install command. And then the name of your software or package. NeoFetch is one of them, and Simple Screen Recorder was the other. Simple Screen Recorder is one word, and that's how I installed it on this system. When you perform one of these commands on the command line down here, the sudo part, as soon as you punch in that command down there, you'll just be requested to put in your password. Once you do that, it takes off and looks for the package, as in this case NeoFetch. If it finds it, it'll ask you to install it, yes or no. And you hit yes, and it proceeds and finishes with a $, and then you're done. I have 3 ways to close this window. I can use the conventional X in the corner. I can use Alt F4, or I can type in exit. I will use exit on this one. All right, we are at System Tools. So Terminal, that's where I left off. Terminal drop-down. System information, system upgrade, same as that blue icon on the panel bar. The upgrade scheduler, and then I did install Thunar, the file manager, as I pointed out. I actually installed it from the welcome screen, the APTus App Center. Timeshift is a system restore utility that does come installed, but it's not active. So I would suggest that if you're going to install this distribution, is to go ahead and turn it on and just follow the directions. It's pretty simple to do. USB disk formatter, and I'll now open the welcome. So that's what you're going to be presented if you install this distribution, or I think if you even try the live version. So several different places you can click, and this is what the App Center looks like. Bob is just a made-up name. Bob is our user for today. So once you sign in, you can, this again is a lightweight distribution, so everything doesn't work like lightning, but these are clickable. So if I was looking for a file manager, I would go to Accessories. I would wait for this thing to respond, and then here's File Managers. I'm just giving you some examples. And all of these are different file managers. So if I wanted to reinstall the Thunar file manager or even look for it, I would just click that. And now you can see I can also remove it or reinstall it. You don't get any fancy icon, but that's fine. At least it tells you what this is. Now I'll type in exit and close. So the Welcome Center also can be found by doing searches, WE, and there it is. The About, there you have some basic system information. You have some additional tabs in here. You have system information in this way. Has a scroll bar, memory, PCI, modules, sensors, disks, battery, if you had battery information. Also the kernel number is right there. Exit. So you get a lot of information from the actual welcome screen. I'm going to use Alt F4 to close that and continue. Again, this is just a tour and overview. All my videos also have timelines and chapters. We are at the welcome screen. So the next one is Network Manager front end, the system tray. You can see that on the panel bar. It looks like a funnel on the right hand side. And then the Qt process manager. Under universal access, you have a virtual keyboard. Under preferences, a lot of people probably head on here if they're wanting to decorate their desktop. So you have, starting with the LXQt configuration center, and then there's these shortcuts. So I'm going to open this up for a second and walk over to the appearance. So you have the widget style, icon, themes, and before I get going, let me remind you that you have a screenshot tool, and I'm going to open that. So I would suggest if you make alterations, you probably do it at a bare minimum, a current window. That's just a suggestion. Icon theme, LXQt theme, font, and cursors. Mouse pointer, cursors. Alright, I'll use the conventional X on that one. Brightness, if you've got a laptop, you may want to look at that. You can also just investigate that. Time and date thing, self-explanatory. Let me open up desktop because there is a bunch of things you can do here. First of all, I want you to notice the size of this icon. I'm going to put all this stuff back to default, including the font. And then I'll turn on some, like a home and a trash can, just to give you a perspective of what these icon sizes look like when they're in the default state. Alright, so I'm going to put it to 96 on the icon size, just to give you that example, and then I'm going to change the font to something larger, like I'll just use a 14. Alright, so for you folks that like large things. Okay, I'm going to continue. So we have background, slideshow, and advanced. So I'm going to turn these two off and hit apply. I'll just leave this icon because I'm going to talk about this a little bit later. Alright, at this point I went through the whole menu, but more importantly, there's your general sizes of your icons if you're going to place icons on your desktop. Notifications, not really going to open that. File association, same thing. Mouse and keyboard stuff. Locale. Monitor settings if you want to change your screen resolution. Open box settings, power management, session settings, shortcut keys, users and groups, and I will open up printer settings just to let you see that my printer was auto-discovered, and I can click that and test print. I did not make any additions to the screen. It auto-found it. My laser printer is a wireless network printer, so it auto-discovered that all on its own. Synaptic Package Manager I'll talk about in a minute. So I'm going to close that and continue. So I was under LXQt. So there are shortcuts also to some of those subcategories in here. Under the middle menu here, you have the Bluetooth Manager. If you did add Thunar, which I did, you'll have this manager settings. The firewall configuration, the firewall is GovW and it does come turned off. If you decide to turn it on and you're using file sharing, investigate some rules. There should be some help in there if you've never used GovW firewall. Print settings, removable drives and media. The screensaver does have a couple of screensavers in there. Keep in mind this is a lightweight distribution. And the one below it, I'm trying to get the post-it note to go away. Synaptic Package Manager I'll open right now. So Bob is our fictitious user for today. I like to sometimes name different users when I do videos. But if you can't read that, that says 61,146 packages are currently listed in Synaptic Package Manager. 1,000 or 1,983 are currently installed. Where is the software come from? Well, it comes, if you use terminal, it's the same place. Let's put it that way. The software comes from here. I will enlarge this. All of my videos also have timelines and chapters. You can always back up the videos. Whatever is highlighted in blue is where it's coming from. Sparky, if you can't read this, it says repo.sparkylinux.org for core. Debian.debian.org for bullseye for the Debian packages, and then there's also the .deb.org Debian-security side. And then there's the multimedia, deb-multimedia.org for bullseye. I'm going to now close that. I'm going to just give you a practical way of viewing things. You can also resize this window area here. If you don't know what these symbols are, because sometimes in different distributions, the Synaptic Package Manager looks a little different. Here's your icon legend, so you may want to investigate those. Typical search key. You have by name, you have by description, and name and others. I like name if I know the name of the package. I'll give you one example. I use this on other distribution. Variety is an automatic wallpaper changer downloader. If I needed to get a screenshot, let me just first point out today's date is May 31, 2023. So some things have screenshots and some things don't, and sometimes you get a full-size screenshot like you will in a second. Today's date is not October 25, and this is not my desktop. This is a screenshot. Just to give you an example with Variety, if you're interested in it, you can change wallpaper from 5 seconds, 5 minutes, and 5 days, to give you some examples. You can turn on and off places from the internet. You can also add your own folder up to 10,000 images. Close. That was a typical screenshot of that. If you wanted to install that, you could right-click, install. You can also click and mark for install. Once you do that, you will have some additional stuff with some things, and you mark that additional stuff. And then you hit apply. And that's how you do the install for Synaptic Package Manager. Now I'm going to use Alt F4 and continue. All right, so there are 3 ways to install software here. So that was Synaptic Package Manager. Now there's also YAD settings. That's a simple graphical user interface, or GUI, for YAD. And I will just suggest that you look that up. And the About, I'm not really going to click that, and there's Leave. Lots of options here. We have Logout, Reboot, and Shutdown, for instance. So I'm going to click Shutdown for a second, just to let you see the message. Do you want to really switch off your computer? That's obviously a yes or no question, but more importantly, all unsaved work will be lost. Now that message I found interesting because I was going to make mention of creating one of these, which I'm going to make mention of that same message. So I'm going to hit X. The last item is lock screen, and then again the search feature. So I'm going to use THU. I'm looking for Thunar, the file manager. You can install just about any other file manager you want. So let me resize that, and this icon is actually found in here. Now the reason that I'm using Thunar, because I'm going to resize icons on the fly. This is made for the XFC environment, but it works just fine. I like the logo. But you can install other file managers, and I can resize icons in this particular file manager. So let me open up that icon folder and point to a bunch of icons. So let's say you're looking on the internet for different icons that you want to assign to a button like this or others. A lot of times you want to look for an icon that has no background, like the one next to that shutdown key is router. You can see a checkerboard around it. When I actually point at it, it goes away. So that means that this square has a see-through background. And when you present that on the screen, you won't see a halo around it. A lot of times when you download icons, they'll have a halo around it. Okay, I've got a culmination of icons here that I downloaded off the internet. I altered some of them. I made some of them so that I have a Heinz variety in here. So my advice to you, just mine, if you decide to use icons that are not from your system, is to create yourself a folder, call it whatever you want. I called mine icons. And then once you use one or more icons from that folder, is to leave the folder in its place, wherever you saved it, and don't change its name. Because this has a path to that, if that makes sense. I'll show you that in a second. So I'm going to use Alt F4 on this. And I'm going to open up I'm going to clear the search field first so I can get a full menu. I'm going to open up Featherpad, the text editor. So again, this is just a text editor that comes installed. It's a lightweight text editor. I'm going to be very careful with this icon and talk about a couple of things when you're using these. They're very sensitive icons, meaning that if I double click on this thing, it doesn't care if I'm filming. It'll shut down my system really quick. And anything that's open, any files that are currently open, it will just shut down the system. So always, if you're going to use icons like this, save your work. Save your work. So I'm going to gently right click on this thing so I can open this in Featherpad to let you see the settings in there. So I will enlarge the text. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up a blank box that creates this. So right click on your screen, create launcher is how I created this button. The commands that are in here are this way. So the name, I called it Shutdown. So let me reuse that. Okay, I'm going to call it Shutdown 2. The description I don't have, which is called the generic name in this box. So I'm going to skip over that and go to comment. I'm going to highlight that and copy that. This is the actual command. Hopefully let me make this even larger for you. So maybe you can read it now. All right, so the command is systemctl, one word, systemctl, one word, lowercase, space, power off. This command currently turns off your system. So I'm going to copy that and paste it in the command box. Now, the type or application is listed actually out of order, so it's right here. The icon that I'm currently using is coming out of Bob's folder, icons, and the name of it is Shutdown. The icon here is the generic application-x-desktop icon. I will use that for this one here as a sample, and then I'm going to create another one with essentially the same entries, but with a different icon. And then what this says is false, meaning terminal no. So far, so good? All right, I'm going to complete the process with the generic icon. I think it looks like a t-shirt. Again, I'm not using any description. Also, comments are optional, but save your work if you're using icons like that. So that icon is exactly the same as this one. It performs the same function. I'm going to do another one. Create launcher. All right, I'm going to call this one power down. So I'm going to manually type this. Oh, power off. How's that? Power off now. I'm going to emphasize the word now. So I'm going to type in the comments, save your stuff. Explanation point. Very important that you understand what these icons do. All right, so the command I'm just going to borrow again from here. So copy and paste, in other words. You'll have to hand type this manually. Systemctl space power off. It's not that hard. All right, under the icon, I am not going to use the generic icon like the t-shirt. I'm going to click the little 3 dashes right here. The 3 little piggies. I'm going to click that and go find Bob's home folder and the icon folder that I mentioned earlier. And then I have all kinds of choices with icons. That's why I blew those icons up for you earlier so you can see them. So I'm going to pick that weird one just to be funny. And then I'll click that. All 3 of these icons do the same job. They all power down my system almost instantaneously. So when you're using icons like this, be very careful. Double clicking this actually shuts my system down. It doesn't ask any questions, unlike this one. At least you have an option now, hitting no or close. When you use one of these, when you double click on them, they'll shut down your system really quick. Thank you for watching, folks.